How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Nailbiter Volume 4 Bloodlust. Overall, this is a really cool volume of Nailbiter. Volumes 1 through 3 kind of had this big plot arc, and 3 really did feel like a mini finale. Now we're going out into the second half of the series, and we really are starting off big with some really cool ideas. Crane is staying in Buckaroo. She has to deal with the ramifications of her secret getting out, but she's using this time to sort of dig into the town's history and uncover some cool mystery elements. But the biggest element is Atlanta, Georgia now. Barker and Finch are going to Atlanta to investigate a potential new Buckaroo butcher. There's this guy, the Devil Killer, who kills people, dresses them up like demons, and arranges the crime scene in a creepy, ritualistic fashion. It's a super creepy killer, but hey, a new potential Buckaroo butcher, that's a really interesting idea. But they also talk about how the world sees Buckaroo on a larger scale, because the local police have arrested this guy, their prime suspect, even though they have like next to no evidence on him. But basically, we found out he was from Buckaroo, he must be guilty. And it really talks about stigma towards people from this town, from everywhere else in the country, which is a really interesting concept, and how you would, if you are from Buckaroo and you left and people might think you're a killer, you would try to keep this a secret and not tell anyone where you're from or about your history. And it's some really interesting ideas. So overall, going outside of Buckaroo, investigating a new serial killer with a really interesting way of doing things, and it really just does feel like a bigger scale. Plus, we have a very interesting way to reincorporate the Nailbiter into this story, and I really do love what he's doing here and the sort of unique idea that they put the character in here. It's really fun. Overall, I definitely recommend this one. It's really cool and a really fun way to start off this next chunk of the story. Overall, I can't wait to read more of this, and I definitely would recommend it. But anyway, without further ado, if you want to see me talk a bit more in specifics, I'll show you guys some of the art and dig in a little deeper. Let's go ahead and switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at Nailbiter Volume 4 Bloodlust. Right off the bat, I really do love this cover. We get the Nailbiter there, Warren, with his devil horns, and we get a pumpkin, and it's got this cool curly stem vomiting up pumpkin seeds, and that's why the whole volume is orange in color. Flip it to the back, we get the action shots from the issue, some quotes, $14.99 US, and we can see that it collects issues 16 through 20. Crack it open, the orange is on the inside as well, and the story is by Joshua Williamson with art by Mike Henderson. And I also do like, with this cover, they have as a bonus feature the full version of it, where basically it was a double cover, and if you flip to the back, you get to see that the Nailbiter is holding a knife behind his back, and there's some blood in the door. I'm glad that they preserved that as a bonus feature. We also do get this sort of behind the scenes where they talk about laying out a scrapbook page, and I like to get to see the Nailbiter artwork as just the inks. Those are really, really cool, and to get to see how they layer upon layer build out the story, that's pretty fun. Anyway, after that, we get into the story proper. No major spoilers, but I'll talk about a few of the plot points, show you guys some of the story and some of the art, but I'll be avoiding the end bits. Overall, we open with a pretty fun opening scene where we get this castle and a girl running, and we get to see that she meets a much more monstrous version of Warren than we're used to, but it turns out it's just these kids telling a story, and we get to see their perception of the town events. Checking in with the town, it's the creepy place and it's Halloween, so they have a bunch of tourism. Plus, with the recent news and the FBI crawling around, Buckaroo is a pretty busy place right now, but these kids have a quest. The idea is to go to Warren's house, knock on the door 3 times, and prove your bravery, but the door happens to be open, and when they go inside, they get a bit of a jump scare from Warren himself. Yeah, we knew that Warren would still be alive. I mean, you can't have the Nailbiter book without the Nailbiter. But it turns out he's actually cool. He's like, I don't kill children. Don't worry about me. And he says, don't tell anyone I'm alive. I have to get out of here. And he heads off to Atlanta to help what he says is the future of Buckaroo. But we'll get back to Atlanta later. We check in with Crane, and yeah, Alice is under right now, and we're hoping she'll wake up soon. And the mortician comes in, and she has an interesting conversation talking about where she was and why she had to give up the baby. And when she found out about Warren pulling some strings to check in on her, only to find out that she made it right back to Buckaroo and was living in her town. It's a really interesting conversation. Finch will come in to say his goodbyes because he's leaving when the mortician lets it spill that Carol's awake. And even though Finch really wants to see him, Barker says that the FBI has taken him for his own safety to an undisclosed location. At FBI headquarters, Barker is sad to learn that even she doesn't know this location, and she's being pulled off the case, and it's given to some higher-ups. We're gonna get the first of many of her rage-filled visions that aren't real, but yeah, do lead to some incredibly graphic fantasies. However, her boss does offer her, or, well, forces her into a new case, basically a potential new Buckaroo butcher in Atlanta, right where Warren's going. We find out that this butcher kills people and arranges them in satanic ways, and also throughout this volume we'll get several covers with the devil on them, so interesting ideas there. We find out on the news that this killer has killed a whole bunch of people, and this random couple starts to talk about it when all of a sudden the police break into his house. We get a violent scene when the police arrest him, and it's only more disturbing to find out later they have very little evidence to this guy. They just think he's the killer because it got out that he was from Buckaroo, and I really do like getting to talk about the stigma here. There's a new butcher, it must be you, you're one of the crazy ones, and we get this like cop that's just like sure of himself and knows 100% that this guy has to have done it, again with no evidence, and talking about how, oh, he'll get rich because of a book deal. So Barker goes to this small bar in the middle of Texas, and she is going to recruit Finch and say, hey, I really need you on this case, and maybe I'll get you to see your friend if you help me out here. So while they're investigating a big new case, we're going to, of course, have some scenes back in Buckaroo with Crane there, and the doctor says, hey, don't worry about your daughter, we're going to get her help, but just go home and get some rest. And that's when she remembers that the Nailbiter says, hey, maybe you shouldn't trust Dr. Glory. So since she knows that he's going to be at the hospital for a while, she decides to break into his house, and as she investigates, she's going to find this book with the symbol on it, and cracking it open, we get to see that it's a scrapbook full of stuff about the Buckaroo Butchers. He's, of course, going to come back, so she doesn't have too long to look at it. But yeah, Crane is going to be uncovering the town side of the conspiracy. So overall, lots of really big stuff going on. Crane digging a little deeper into this mystery, Barker and Finch looking at the potential new butcher, and the story of this guy getting railroaded by the law because Buckaroo people all must be crazy, right? Interesting stuff, big story. And also, man, that killer, that is a super interesting, really dark killer that really does make the whole story pop. Overall, I really like this volume. Can't wait to get to see more. And yeah, it's really cool. we have 2 more volumes, and then after that, 2 volumes of Nailbiter Returns, and I hope to read through them all really quickly, because the story really does have me at this point. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Nailbiter playlist where you can see my reviews of the first 3 volumes of this series. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.